Good morning to you, our dear student leaders. And on behalf of the African Student Leadership Summit, powered by the Ecolapticos Institute of Strategic Leadership, I welcome you to another edition of the African Student Leadership Summit. For a brief history on where and how the African Student Leadership Summit started. But before then, we will have to say our national prayer because we are in Nigeria. Amen. Amen. All right. Thank you for standing up for that national prayer of Nigeria. I'm sure that some of us are still trying to learn the lyrics because we grew up with a different national prayer. But you know, that is why we are here, to redesign governance. So governance, another new government came and said, no, we need to go back to, and so all of us are now trying to learn the new one. But I'm sure that we know the words within the song, because that is where the power lies. So taking us further, I want to say, please, as we begin today, we have gathered for this important summit with the theme of the year, which says redesigning governance. Redesigning governance. And so today's experience has been intentionally designed to move everyone here and move us beyond conversations into a clear thinking and practical insight. So we are not here to just roll out speeches, papers. We are here to get the work done. And when we get into the session properly, you will attest to the fact and to the truth that we are here to get the work done. So we're going to have an interactive session where we get to meet with one or two student leaders, introduce yourself. This is where you sell yourself. St. Charles. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you mentioned that you just came in to just...
Yes, I came to just. Yes. From Abuja. We are going to have our keynote speaker. So he's going to share his practical leadership experience. How he's been on the leadership corridor to the point of becoming the global president of the University of Jos Alumni Association. But before he comes up, I would like to read his bio so that you can have a knowledge of who we are calling up to speak to you this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome Dr. Gad Shamaki Peter, PhD. He is the global president of the University of Jos Alumni Association and a council member of the university. He is a seasoned development practitioner, a security expert, and a social justice advocate with over 17 years of work experience in Nigeria and in Lake Chad Basin. He was the executive director of CLEAN, C-L-E-E-N Foundation, acting country director of Equal Access International, deputy regional manager of the British Council, regional program manager of Creative Associates, and consultant to several organizations. His work spans peace building, community mobilization, advocacy, and human rights, gender integration, social inclusion, and youth engagement. He is also a dedicated mentor to many young people around the world. Please, my fellow leaders and students of leadership, join me as we make welcome Dr. Gad Shamaki for the keynote speech. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. My pleasure meeting you all. And I know today is a Saturday, and I heard a sanitation in several states across the country. So clearly, I know we're trying to gather ourselves. And I'm supposed to leave here for Bauchi because we're inaugurating the University of Jos Alumni Association Bauchi State Chapter. The VC and several prominent Nigerians are going to be there. And as a global president, I honestly do not have excuse not to be there in person. And so I thought, out of respect for you and the value I attach to this program, I should at least stop over and say hello and to say a few things before I leave. And my attitude to leadership is the fact that I may not be able to influence everybody, but I'm certain I'll influence one person. And my hope is that that one person I will influence will be able to influence another person, and gradually we're able to form a circle of influence. And within that phase of influence, we're able to change the narratives about situation around us. I've argued severally, and I'll present it here, that those people that create problems for us, either as criminals, people in governance that are not performing well, people that are having corrupt practices around their neck, or people that create problems for us as a people, they are less than 0.1% of our population. But the difference between them and us is that they are very consistent, they are very persistent, they are deliberate and intentional about what they do. And so they are in the minority, but they are very pushful and demanding about where they want to go. And so those of us that, in quotes, are on the right side of the law, or those that want to make those changes, we are usually very slow, or we are not even consistent in what we do. We get halfway, we're tired, and we're hoping somebody else will do what we're expected to do. And so it's on us to ensure that wherever we find ourselves, that we're providing leadership in every way possible. And when you want to test your leadership, is when you're driving at night and you're tempted to follow that one way, and you think you're the only one. That's your test of leadership. Your test of leadership is when every other person is going the wrong direction and refuse to go that direction with other people. That's a test of leadership. Your leadership ability is when you're able to stand on integrity and you're able to say, no, this is where we're supposed to be, and you're pushing. You're not telling people what they need to do, but you're showing it by your conduct and action that this is the direction that things need to be. And leadership is not a birthright. Leadership is not giving. Leadership is not necessarily ascribed. I know people say leadership is ascribed, but once you're a leader, when you walk into a place, people know a leader has arrived. Nobody will debate that with you. And so in a gathering of several people, people will come meet you and look, can you help us provide leadership? Because in the way you talk, in the way you reason, and in the way you articulate your point, people could feel and see that leadership in you. Leadership has absolutely nothing to do with your age. It has everything to do with your cognitive activity and what you are able to provide. And so when you have opportunity to have this kind of interaction, it's an opportunity for you to build your capacity, read books, understand situation, and get it well presented. So if you're here this morning and in that your mother's room, because several of us in Africa from homes where our dads have several wives, so I'm not talking about the whole of your family, I'm talking about in that your mother's room. If they are having meeting and consultation, do people ask where are you and seek for your opinion? If you're in a classroom and conversation are happening, do people say, where is Samuel? Where is Felicia? Where is Esther? Want to hear your thoughts? In your small church group, in your community group, wherever you are, do people want to seek for your opinion? If your opinion is not sorted, then you are not there yet. Because your opinion can only be sorted for or seek for when people think you have something to offer. And so you need to build yourself every day. You need to enhance your capacity. I have been privileged to hold several leadership positions, and I tell you a short story. From my primary school to my secondary down to university, I've held positions. And each of these positions I've been entrusted with a position of sensitivity, or position that are highly sensitive, or position that are kept for people that have certain things to offer. In my primary school, I was a timekeeper. You cannot be given a position of a timekeeper if you are not disciplined. I was made a house captain of Purple House, and when I left the primary school, I was the head boy of the school. That is leadership at that level for me. So in my primary school alone, I had 3 responsibilities I've held at one point or the other, but I had 2 until I graduated from my primary school pass. I don't know how they call it then. But I was the house captain of Purple House, and then the head prefect. In my secondary school days, I was the library prefect. Sorry, not the library prefect, the staff room prefect. You cannot be a staff room prefect if the school authority do not trust you. And then I was a labor prefect. Now I can go on and on, give you several examples. In this very University of Jos, I've had several positions from my department down to the student union, to NANS and all of this. So all of this provide you opportunity to build your leadership skills. And so if you're in a school environment like this, ensure that you're fully involved in decision making in your classes, in your hostel, and at the bigger level. And I can tell you that several of my colleagues or several of my contemporaries or people that were part of leadership structure at one level or the other in the university during my days are either in the Senate, House of Rep, House of Assembly. Some of them are commissioners, some of them were deputy governors, and all of this. And so it means that this is a training ground. It's a ground for you to be able to become a better version of yourself. You make errors, people laugh at you, but you make those adjustments. You know? And so it's left for you to decide where you want to be. And so every day you go to sleep, you need to ask yourself, what have I achieved today? And are you happy with what you've been able to achieve? If you're not, then tomorrow is another day for you to make a difference. And so don't always be in a hurry to join the bandwagon effect of where everybody is going to and you think you need to be there. You have the right to be different. You have the right to think differently from other people and to argue from different perspectives. And so, nobody is going to give you leadership. And there is nowhere on earth where freedom and liberty have been gotten a platter of gold. You must work for it, you must demand for it. And so, my dear friends, today is an opportunity for you to enhance your skills. One of the major challenges we have in Nigeria and in Africa is leadership. God has blessed this continent, God has blessed Nigeria with natural resources, with human resources, with capital, every resources. But the single thing that we lack is leadership. And part of the reason why we even have leadership issue is that there are no leadership schools, there are no mentorship going on, and you have some people that think that once they get elected into position of authority, it's given, they don't need to enhance their capacity. But in other climates, in other parts of the world, people go to build their capacity because you don't know it all. And so the leadership of the 60s is not the same with the 70s, is not the same with the 80s. Evolving things are happening. So you need to be very contemporary in your thinking and approach to whatever you think you need to do. And so seated here this morning, project yourself into the next 5-10 years. Where will you be? What will you be? What will you be doing? How many persons will you have mentored? How many persons are you influencing? What is the storyline that you're changing? And the world is becoming very competitive. It's not as straight jacket as it used to be in the past. So it means that you need to be exceptional wherever you do to become recognized. And I tell you this, if you are a thief, be a good thief. So that when people are looking for a thief, they say, we know one boy that can do this for us. Let that be your skills and your capacity that people will be able to say, Kai, now I made they steal that thing, but I know one guy if you do have. That's your trophy. But if you are not, then what are you good at? If people want to talk about you, what will they say about you? There are certain things that if you talk to 10 people, 9 people will tell you about me, my level of consistency. People will tell you that, look, if you come to this limit, God is this. What will people say about you? And so you should be worried about your reputation. And you should package yourself for the future. And I will end by saying that now that we know that social media does not forgive and does not forget, be careful what you post. Because you cannot post rubbish today, then tomorrow you say you are born again. Even if you are born again, people will remind you of what you said in the past. What's your consistency? So we're saying how people say, I said it because I didn't know. No, don't say because you didn't know. Be careful what you post. Because once you press that send button, whether you recall it, there's somebody somewhere that is waiting for it to arrive. And so that puts you in a difficult position to start changing it. So let people have a positive perception about you. Let your arrival at a place be welcoming. Let people sit with you because they know you can have meaningful conversation, that you're able to interact for 10, 5 minutes, 15 minutes on every issue. So have a fair understanding of situation. Be a fair person, be a just person, be a knowledgeable person, be an exposed person. Understand situation beyond just the average conversation with people. And there's so much space for leadership around the world. People are looking for leaders. People are looking for leaders. When I was struggling to balance my energy, Abigail, social media handler for our Alumni Association, my good friend, was worried. I've been the last 2 weeks, I've been in the US. I barely got into Nigeria on Friday. I sneaked into Jos yesterday. No, I got in on Thursday. I sneaked into Jos yesterday. I'm going to Bauchi today, and I'm leaving Bauchi tomorrow back to Abuja to do some work, come back to Jos, and then leave for Oshun. And she was telling me, and I told her that leadership comes with responsibility. You cannot love the responsibility, the position of a leader, and then you don't want to give what leadership demands from you. And so whenever you love the arrow of being a leader, you must equally love making that sacrifice for leadership. So leadership is not something you hold, and then when you hold it, you go to sleep, and when people talk to you, you get very angry, you get very emotional about it. It should have said you want to be a leader. So be a leader in the true sense of the word. So don't be selective in the day you respond to issues that demand your attention. So you need to be on top of your situation all of the time and show that you have that skills and knowledge that you need to exhibit and show capacity. So we can never discuss this issue exhaustively today. And I'm happy there are several great persons here that have leadership skills and experience over the years. And once you're able to agree, listen, I'm sure you're going to run with quite a number of things that will help you. Leaders are like golden fish. They don't have anywhere to hide. People see you, people identify with you, and people know it. If you're a leader, you're a leader. If you're not a leader, you can only pretend, and people will always also know you're pretending. So on this note, I wish you well. I need to leave for Bauchi. Already they are calling, and I don't want to speed and be irresponsible. So I want to go gently. But again, remember that when government say fasten your seatbelt, you are not doing government a favor, you are doing yourself a favor. I don't know how many of you have gone to the hospital and you saw a road safety official on admission or government admission because you didn't fasten your seatbelt. When government say clean your environment like today, you're not doing it for government, you're doing it for your health. Because how many times have you gone to the hospital and you see a whole government as an institution admission because of malaria, typhoid, or anything? So when you're a leader, you don't even allow people to keep telling you what you need to do. You have to do what you need to do yourself and do it well. But once people start telling you run, you run, stop, you stop, then something is wrong with your ability to take leadership. So think, and think within and outside the box. Be a problem solver. Don't be part of the challenges. Don't be part of people that are organizing. Be part of people that are organizing and part of people that are solving the problems. People will only invite you to talk when they feel you have certain things to offer, when they know you know what you are doing. So it's not about gra, no be cho. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. You understand? So there is no two ways, there is no hard way about it. But I seated here, I see a lot of potentials in you guys. I see quite a number of people that have capacity. But capacity and potential alone does not solve problems. It's how you're able to use it. And I end by giving this short story that Uncle Panam gave us several years ago. That two young men went to see a soothsayer Babalao, and he told one, you're going to be rich, and he told the other person, you're going to be poor. 30 years later, 35 years later, the person that was told was going to be poor took his destiny into his hand and contested that decision. Down the line, he became the richest person. The one that was told was going to be rich went home sleeping. Don't go sleeping, because when you sleep, poverty will overtake you. And that shouldn't be a story. Thank you. So I have to go now. I'll keep in touch.
Please, a round of applause for that inspiring practical keynote speech by our dear keynote speaker, Dr. Gad Shamaki. Thank you, sir. All right. What a session. We are just beginning, and if you're just joining, this is African Student Leadership Summit, powered by the Ecolapticus Institute of Strategic Leadership. Before we called on our speaker who gave us the keynote speech, we were about to have or get into the memory lane of how we came about the project we're running on today, because if we don't know the origin of what you're doing, you may not do it well. If you don't know why you are doing a thing, you may not reap the benefits therein. Our summit is not a speech and slide summit, and that is why you can see the lineup of speakers we usually have in our summit. So I am glad standing before you today that this journey that began 8 years ago, you are also about to plug into it, because we have a community of students of leadership, and we also have different other communities where you develop your leadership. Leadership is not in talking. Leadership is not being in charge. Leadership is in taking charge. And we are being led, whether we like it or not, by one thing or the other, by one person or the other. And because leadership is influence, if you check yourself on the mirror, there's a reason why you are putting on the cap you're putting on. There's a reason why you are dressing the way you dressed. Somebody influenced you. You may not know, because the third level of our mind, human mind, which is the collective unconsciousness, is where we make our decision unconsciously. So leadership is beyond, hey, my leader, is beyond that. Is beyond that. So please, a round of applause for yourself to have been able to be part of this project, African Student Leadership Summit. And then in 2023, we had to seek for approval to run an Institute of Strategic Leadership, that now powers the summit itself. Our South African delegates supposed to be here today, but they got the notification. They said they won't be able. But of course, we are going to Lagos after now. We'll be heading down to Lagos, and definitely we should touch down Ghana this year. I'm not saying all this to bamboozle you. I'm saying all of this to let you know that the Africa we want requires that you and I join hands together, right? Because there's an Africa we want. There's the Nigeria we want. Some people say new Nigeria, but what is new Nigeria? We need to define it, because your new Nigeria may be different from my new Nigeria. This government is favoring me, and it's not favoring the other person. So good governance is different in definition per individual. What good governance is to you is different from what good governance may be to me. But we need to come to the consensus that this is what we should strive for, regardless of what I will give or what I will trade for it. It may not be what I like, but this is what is right for the benefit of the future, because we need to rush to preserve the future from decadence. We have to do what we need to do, because we don't have all the time in our hand, not just because we are here in this summit, but because the future we are talking about yesterday is already here today. So what we did yesterday, the result is what we are seeing today. So the consequences of our decision is something we need to always remember. Please join me as we make welcome our next speaker, who is the global lead pastor of Glorious Life International Church and a former gubernatorial candidate who brought a transformative way forward agenda to the Plateau State political arena. A certified NLP practitioner, life and relationship coach, and ambassador for peace of retired Superintendent Inusa Habu and Evangelist Cynthia Habu. She has spent decades cultivating a ministry rooted in institutional reform, personal healing, and the pursuit of social harmony. Add this and the empathy of a seasoned counselor to the theme redesigning governance. As the host of the influential program Conversations with Margaret, she is a master communicator who understands the nuances of public discourse and ethical leadership. Her session will focus on shifting the African leadership paradigm from mere administration to transformational stewardship, equipping student leaders with the psychological and moral tools necessary to lead with resilience and visionary clarity in an evolving political landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow leaders and students of leadership, please a round of applause as we may welcome our speaker, Pastor Margaret David Yahaya. She will take us through a 20 minutes session, and I bet you will like it. Thank you, Mom. Welcome.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here. I want to most sincerely appreciate St. Charles and his team for this great invite. I truly do not take it for granted. It is an honor and a privilege for me to speak at this year's conference. I'd like to appreciate Dr. Shamaki, who is a friend and a brother, who just stepped out, and my dear beautiful sister, Dr. Wiggins. We are always meeting at important events, so I'm truly honored and happy to meet you and every other speaker that's here. If I don't know you, my apologies, but you're well seated. And to our listeners, thank you so much for availing yourself to be here. The Lord bless you. All right, character, values, and the future of governance. It's my job here this morning, forming leaders who can be trusted with power. And I want to introduce this topic by saying that why this conversation matters in conferences like this. Why these conversations matter in conferences like this. I want to say that I want you to give me your rapt attention, because one person here can cause the change that we desire in Africa and Nigeria. And so it is not about how filled up the place is. It just takes God, one man, and there will be a total transformation. It could be in a nation, it could be in a family. We have heard of someone like Gideon, who was the least in his family and who was a nobody. But when God decides to bring a change and a transformation, he looked for Gideon, who was behind the scene. Gideon, who didn't even believe in himself. But when God called him out and told him what he could do, Gideon destroyed the altars of his father's house and rebuilt a new altar. So, one man with God, for me, is a majority. And I believe that one man, that one woman that will cause a transformation in leadership, not just in Africa but Nigeria, that person is seated here. So don't be distracted, just give your rapt attention, and I believe you will understand why you are here this afternoon. Why this conversation matters. I'll be talking about character, values, and the future of governance. Forming leaders who can be trusted with power. That's my assignment. Now, I said why this conversation matters is because leadership is not Africa's biggest problem. We have leaders everywhere. We have leaders all over Africa. And it's so unfortunate for us in Africa that our leaders do not really understand why they are where they are. And so they go into leadership either by accident or for some certain reasons why they want to be leaders. And that is why, you see, I've traveled to Dubai before. I went to Dubai, I went to Abu Dhabi, and I think I spent 4 weeks. I spent 2 weeks in Dubai, 2 weeks in Abu Dhabi. And I was going around the state and around some certain infrastructures that were there. And so I got to read a book by the king of Dubai, bin Rashid Al Maktoum. And the book is titled The Vision, or My Vision. And I read the book, and if you've not read the book, I think you should find the book and read it. It's called My Vision by the king of Dubai, Al Rashid bin Maktoum. And reading the book, I got to discover that actually Dubai was a small fishing nation that with a very small population. And as of 1971, they came to Nigeria to borrow money from our oil money, so that they can put infrastructures and develop Dubai. Now, if you know Dubai very well, or the United Arab Emirates, most of those countries don't even have the natural resources that we have. They don't have land as much as we have here. What they have is a lot of water. So they came as of 1971 to borrow money from Nigeria so that they could develop their country. And so when they came, the president as at then, I think then it was Obasanjo, as I was told, the loan was not given to them. So they went back, and then their forefathers now drafted a vision for Dubai. Let me tell you, what you see happening today in the United Arab Emirates was a vision, or visions, that their forefathers who were leaders wrote down for them. And so everyone that came on board had a vision to read and to follow. And so everything about Dubai is number one. They have everything number one, better than even China and US and other places. Why? There was a vision. And so we ask ourselves, leadership is not Africa's problem. The problem we have in Africa is the issue of trust. So leadership is not Africa's biggest problem. Trust is. Because many citizens do not believe leaders will do what is right. So if I am to ask, what is the vision of Nigeria? Where are we driving at as leaders in Nigeria? Where are we going? What, now the campaign seasons have come, everybody is putting posters, bringing out manifestos and all of that. The truth is that for the young African and for the young Nigerian, we have lost hope because our leaders are not to be trusted. When they tell you, somebody told us before, when he was speaking, I don't want to call names, the person was crying on national television, shedding tears and saying, oh, Nigerians are suffering. If they can just give me leadership, I will transform Nigeria. Unfortunately, he came on board for 8 years, and Nigeria is more wrecked than how he met it. And then another one came up and said, made a lot of promises and told Nigerians that what? That he will fix electricity. If I don't fix electricity in 4 years, don't vote me again. What is it again they are telling you? Right now they're in Abuja having conferences, having their whatever, and they are making new promises and making excuses. I was watching the Minister of Power on television, Arise News, 3 days ago. He was speaking and apologizing to Nigerians and saying the problem was bigger than this. We didn't know the problem was bigger than this. Talk is cheap, and that is the problem of leadership, not just in Africa but in Nigeria. And the time has come for the youth and the young people of Nigeria to wake up and hold their leaders accountable based on the promises and the things they have said. If somebody told you I will fix electricity in 4 years, if I don't fix it, don't vote me, then what happens to not voting them? So there's problem of trust. And that is the major issue that we are having in Africa. You go to Cameroon, go to Senegal, go to Zimbabwe, go to Uganda. What do you see? You see old men who go into power. They turn the place to become their own empire. Emboss their family, put them there, and forget about their citizens. Unfortunately and shamefully, this is the reason why you see a lot of coup d'etat going on in Africa. Not because we don't have leaders, but the problem of African and Nigerian leadership is trust. The crisis of leadership is the crisis of character. And I quote Abraham Lincoln. He said, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. I take the quote again. I said, the crisis of leadership in Africa is a crisis of character. And I quote Abraham Lincoln, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. And this is what we are seeing here in Africa. When they come, or here in Nigeria, I saw a particular president who cannot walk. He was using walking stick, peeing on his body, and he's still holding on to power. And it's such, it's such amazing that, we have youths and young people in such countries who cannot. If you watch the Middle East and what is happening right now, there's a lot of revolution. When the youths rose up in Egypt and began a revolution, they said, we do not want the brotherhood. We need a change in our country. This was how Egypt was conquered, and then a government came in. Whatever you see happening in Iran today or Iran, it is also the youth woke up and began to protest. We cannot, and we will not accept this. And of course, America capitalized, and Israel, and then they are bombarding everywhere. But why? There's a change of regime. This was also what happened in Venezuela, where the president, just hijacked the country. And then if you want to know the character of a man, give him power. And this is what we are seeing in Nigeria. Some people came in and made a lot of promises. For 8 years, nothing happened. Everybody was quiet. Nigeria was quiet. Nigerians were quiet. The youths are quiet. And in 2023, when the president emerged, I sat down in my room and I wept for Nigeria, because in a country of 220 million people and 80% consists of youths, we have this kind of leadership. Nobody is saying anything, and if you try to say anything, you are silenced by the powers that are on ground. Then I weep for Nigeria and I weep for Africa. And this is the reason why we keep going backward and backward and backward. Now today, British colonized us, but what is happening? China has taken over Nigeria, and it's so unfortunate that we are so indebted to China. I pray that one day we will not wake up and we are all ching chung chang and giving Chinese names. Whether we like it or not, we will become Chinese people because of the high rate of debt that Nigeria is having, and we are seeing it. So what about these elections are coming? Are you looking at the character of the leaders, or you're following religion, or you're following ethnicity, or you're following, okay, this is where I'm coming from, I need to do this? Until Nigerians and the youth in Nigeria wake up and say no to religion, no to ethnicity, no to geopolitical zoning, and we begin to look out for candidates and people that we can trust their character to be able to bring a revolution and a change in Nigeria, our suffering has just begun. So our problem is not the leadership crisis we have, is not that there's no leadership, but test a man's character by giving him power. Unfortunately today we are having a one system party. Everybody now is running, crisscrossing party, not because they have anything to offer, but because they want to hold on to the federal mic so that they can retain their office. And if you look at them, what is it that they have done? For example, here on the plateau, I beg to ask you, do you think now, because plateau is our home, the question is, do you feel that there is a state house of assembly here on the plateau? Do you feel any legislation? Do you feel anything is going on? We gather, let the A's have it and the nays have it, and then they stamp and everybody goes. At the end of the day, they receive their alert and everybody moves on. Now the election season has come. They want their powers to be tested. I wish that this whole room was filled up with people who will listen and hear and know that until Nigerians wake up and begin a revolution, our journey to El Dorado has just begun. 3, leadership starts with character and not position. And I said character is who you are when no one is watching. Character is who you are when no one is watching. And so without character, power becomes abuse. Are we not seeing it now? Power has become abuse. Things are going wrong. Decisions are meant to be taken. I pity somebody like Samuel Otom of Benue who stood up and said, no open grazing in my state. I put this law, I enact this law. The powers that be made sure he didn't return back to the government house. Or the person that would have taken over. Now they put in somebody who supposedly is a reverend father who should know God and know what is right. All of a sudden now Benue has become a killing spree because you have a governor that cannot put his foot on the ground and say, no, this cannot happen. Everybody now is crisscrossing to one party. What are they afraid of? They are afraid of losing their position and losing their seat, not because of the people. And that is why my cry for this election 2027 that is coming, you that are here, one man, one person, 2 people here, you can take this campaign and go out there and begin to tell people, we are not voting people based on party. We are not voting people based on what we can get, because already they are going around sharing rice, sharing sewing machine, sharing laptop, sharing. Is that all your destiny depends on? There is more. So leadership starts with character, not position. And so we don't look at the character of the people we are bringing in, and we ourselves that are aspiring leaders, what is our character? What is our own character? You that is listening to me, what is your own character? Because as at little things, your own character is failing. Your own character is not straight. Your mother sends you and the thing is 50 naira, and then you say it's 70 naira, and then you pocket 20 naira. These things begin small. And everyone you see in position today, embezzling money, stealing money, looting money. Somebody came up and said, war against corruption. I will deal with corruption in Nigeria. And for 8 years, corruption was even worse. And then here we are again. And this one is, if there's any English like Worcester, than where we are coming from, it's like frying pan to fire. And what are we seeing? The poor people gather. They gather under the sun. Sekai, Sekai, Sekai. 2027. It's not about position. It's about character. And if Nigerians can put their hands together and say, we can bring down the power of incumbency, then we are ready for leadership. And we are ready for people of character who have been tested to speak to Nigerians and to take Nigeria to where it should be. Nelson Mandela chose reconciliation over revenge, and that is building character. He chose to reconcile over revenge. Values, number 4, are the foundation of leadership. Core values like integrity, accountability, service, courage. So a leader without values is dangerous. And what is integrity? Integrity is making sure that what you say, you make sure it happens or it comes to pass. Integrity is saying something and making sure it is done. So the problem is that we don't even hold our leaders accountable for whatever they do. I hope I'm still in my 20 minutes. All right. we don't even hold, we the citizens, don't even hold our leaders accountable for whatever is happening. Now that the campaigns are come, now that the elections are coming, everybody's bringing out poster, everybody's visiting one constituency to the other. If you are to ask someone a question, if they put a senator, a member of the house or something, and you are to ask them a question, what kind of question are you going to ask them? What did they tell you they were going to do that they did and didn't do? That is how you rate them and how you should vote. Because leadership is what? Integrity, accountability, service, and courage. But it's such a pity that the citizens that have the power to vote and to put these people into power have suddenly become the slaves. So instead of them to serve you, you serve them. You know, Your Excellency, you are the Excellency. Oh, and all because of what? Poverty. So the people that are supposed to be the ones we are holding accountable, you are the ones licking their boots. For how much? And the time has come. They are packaging rice. Where is the future of Nigeria? Where is the future of Africa? Men have sat, they've turned democracy to palaces. They become rulers. And everybody is just, as soon as we leave here, well, we go back to the same thing, complacency. What will be, will be. It's a food for thought. So, values are the foundation of leadership. Core values like integrity, accountability, service, and courage. A leader without these values is dangerous. And so, screen them and check them. 4, the trust factor. Trust is the foundation of governance. Where trust is low, leadership fails. The trust factor. Trust is the foundation of governance. When trust is low, leadership fails. And that is why I hear a lot of people saying this 2027 election, they won't vote because they already know the INEC chairman has been put there and it's like there's nothing else anybody can do. We have lost hope. Everybody has lost hope. And I'm telling you, even recent elections that was done in Abuja, the Abuja Municipal Council elections, there was a cry by INEC that the low turnout, the turnout for the election was poor and low and very bad. And we are yet to see it because in 2027 it's going to be more worse. Why? Nigerians have lost trust. We have lost trust in the institution. We have lost trust in our leaders for integrity, for them to say something and do it. So already, you can see that the stage has been set. Both the police, the army, the air force, the DSS, the courts, Supreme Courts, and civil defense. Everywhere, everybody has tightened their grip so that whether they win or lose, they must be there by force, not because they have these qualities that Nigerians are looking for. So, trust is earned in drops and lost in buckets, Kevin Plank said. And now we talk about corruption, the enemy of leadership. Corruption destroys trust and development. It is the enemy of leadership and it's called corruption. I don't have much time to break this down, but I think you already know what we are seeing in Africa, that a president will sit on the gold mine of a country. It's just a pity. So when character is lost, everything is lost. Number 6, leadership is service and not status. And I said leadership is about serving people, not gaining power. Leadership is about serving people, not gaining power. So leadership is service, not status. And this is why I just saw on social media one young lady who probably wanted to contest for Mangu State House of Assembly. She just put out a press statement that she's withdrawing her ambition. She loves the state. She loves her constituency. She has a manifesto of what to do. But she just wrote I was just reading it now, that she's stepping down because the nomination form is 20 million. For president is 500 million. That's for the APC. And for other House of Reps, 200 million. Senate, 200 million. House of Reps, 100 million. State House of Assembly, 20 million. You now that is seated here, you have what it takes to change your constituency. Where do you vomit 20 million from? It's high time we wake up and say no to this injustice. Because there are people that can change this country. But because we think that leadership is status and not service, this is the reason why things are happening the way they are happening. And so when the politicians get there, when you and I get there to the House of Senate, to the presidency, where you're giving appointment, you begin to loot. These are the things that encourage corruption, because we want to save money to be able to buy nomination form. May God help our country. So please note that leadership is service, not status. So leadership is about serving people, not gaining power. They don't care whatever happens to you. My dad was sick lately. We took him to Plateau Hospital. At night, the light goes off. There's no fuel, no diesel to power the gen. Doctors will be in the operating theater. Light will go off. I saw when my father was being operated on, they had to use rechargeable light. You sit in a hospital environment, there are cockroaches and bed bugs. You have to buy hand gloves and Panadol in your own country, because they see leadership as status and not service to the people. And that is why when they are sick, they can fly everywhere and nobody is saying anything. May God help Africa and Nigerians. And I said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Quote Mahatma Gandhi. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. 7, building character as young leaders. And this is where I want to speak to us that are seated here. Building character as young leaders. A, do small things right. Do small things right. In your house, you tell your mom, I'm going to Bukuru, and you branch to do hookup in a mango. That's a problem. So we are saying, we the young people are the leaders of tomorrow. How do you do little things right? It tells us the future of Nigeria. They send you, there's a change remaining. Do you bring it back? They send you, you call your parents, the handout is 1,000, but you call your parents and tell them it's 3,000, and yet you want to be a leader. This is where it starts. Tap your neighbor and say she's talking to you. Please tap your neighbor and say she's talking to you. Now tell that person, do little things right from today. B, choose the right influences. I was glad when I walked in and I saw this. Avoid cultism, avoid prostitution, and avoid drug abuse. These are influences. So, if you have to build your character as a young leader, do small things right. Choose the right influences. Because anyone you associate with, you assimilate. Anyone you constantly are with, you become that person. So be very careful of your influences and the people that you keep around you. C, practice accountability. I tell my children, my first son is 25, my daughter is 21. And I tell them, as long as you are under my roof, I know you are big guys. My son is done with his BSc. He's doing his master's now. And I told him, I said, point A to point B. If you are leaving my house, don't come back to my house before 6 or 6:30. And if any girl is coming to see you in my house, once it's 4 p.m., she goes back to her father's house. No girl sleeps in my house, and so I'm in my room. Once it's 4, I start flashing him, and he knows it's time for her to go. And I said to him, you must learn to teach those girls that you are a responsible man. You don't keep a girl to sleep in your mother's house. That is irresponsibility. I am trying to build something in him as a future leader tomorrow to be what? Do small things right, choose the right influences, and practice accountability. So I said, let the girl go back home, because every responsible girl should be home by 4, helping her mother to prepare dinner. If you keep them, they are watching Z1 and African Magic, and then they get comfortable. Once she starts sleeping in your mother's house, is a sign that you and your mother are irresponsible. So that will not happen in my house. My daughter is 21, she's studying mass comm, and I said to her, yes, your friends can come to the house. I like to know your friends. I like to hang out with them. I like to know the people my children are with. But there is a time where when it's clicking, that person has to go. What am I teaching them? Accountability. If they are not with me tomorrow, I'm telling you the truth, they know that there's something that's been instilled in them. They need to be accountable, not just to me, but to themselves, because they are future leaders of tomorrow. So you must learn to practice accountability. Once my daughter knows it's 6:30 and she cannot come home, Dr. Wiggins, she has to call me or text me. Mommy, we are having class, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to make it by 6:30. Mommy, please, I'll be late by 8. That's something I'm putting in her. She's 21, he's 25. They can tell me, based on the Constitution, and they have, Barrister Halima is here. Based on the Constitution, they have their right in the Constitution. Hey, this is Africa. And if we have to train ourselves to become accountable, then it begins with you. I hope you feel me. So start practicing accountability. Don't lie to your parents, because there's no destiny for a child of compromise. And lastly, D, stand for the truth. I'd like to round up by saying the role of student leaders. The way you lead now is the way you will lead in the future. And unfortunately, I round up by telling you that I cry and I feel bad the way I see I was given an award by the Nigerian Association of Students, NANS, the National Association of Nigerian Students, as an epitome of hope. I think in 2019, I was given that award by then the SUG leadership. And I told them something. I pity the way NANS is going. And it's unfortunate that you are also the ones that vote such kind of people into power. And you see, governance starts from NANS. And then it's built into these systems that you're seeing. Because most of these people like Oshomole and others, you would know that they started from the student union before they became who they are today. And then unfortunately, you are the ones voting these kind of people. And you can see that right about now, NANS has been hijacked and it has also become a political tool. So, my advice to you is, the way you lead now is the way you will lead in the future. And that is why it's unfortunate we keep repeating the cycle of African leaders and Nigerian leaders, because we are recycling the same system of people that have failed in the core values. What will a NANS president be doing with jeeps? What would a treasurer be doing with big cars? Sharing money. Now you see them, you that are even the students, you are worshiping them. Because all these things are, they are all tied to status and position and not integrity and character. And that is why your cry can never be represented in the federal system. Because when they go there and Ghana must go is share, they come back and tell you, calm down, calm down. And that's why, unfortunately, St. Charles, Nigeria can never have a revolution, because even the young people have been bought with money. The future of governance in Africa, Africa's future, depends on you, ethically and value-driven leaders. God bless you.